Hi everyone, I'm Mishka. Welcome back to my channel. In today's episode of Our Life Beginnings and Always, we are going to be continuing the step 2 moments. So today we're going to be doing moment 5, which is called road trip. But before we get into it, make sure to hit the subscribe button, share with your friends, so then they can find out my amazing channel just like you have right now. So yeah, let's get into it and I hope you enjoy. Okay, Even though you were wide awake, the sun had barely peeked its head above the horizon and the sky above was still dark, though lightening by the minute. Usually you wouldn't be up so early, especially during summer vacation, but today was different. Today, instead of the lazy days you were used to, everything around you was a flurry of activity as both your family and coach prepared for what lay ahead. Because parked in the street just outside your house was a massive RV camper, so big you couldn't even see Cope's house behind it. Oh wow. His parents had rented the RV for a few days to take him on a short road trip to see the Redwood National Park. Well, that's cool. You glanced at Cope, who was standing nearby, taking in the scene in front of him. The prospect of the trip had to be a mixed bag for him, but it was only 3 days, so it seemed like he was dealing with it as best he could. Especially now that you and your family were joining them. Oh my gosh, okay. You weren't sure how exactly it had happened. You know your parents and Co spoke to each other often, and somewhere along the way, plans were made after Cliff offered to share the space. The parents all thought it was a fantastic idea. You had already gotten a good look inside while helping to load everything in, and you had to admit that while it was a really big car, fitting that many people inside was going to be a snug.
Let's go.
Move it or lose it, kiddo. Mom bustled past with a cooler in one hand and a large bottle of water on the other. She was upbeat for this early in the morning. Ma, however, seemed to be on the other side of the wavelength. She followed her wife, dragging her feet on every step. I'm gonna need a whole jug of coffee once we hit the road. You could relate to Ma, it was way too early. Honestly, I hate getting up super early. You yawned and rubbed at your eyes, still sleepy from the early morning wake-up call. The air outside was still damp from dew, and that helped you make you a bit more alert. And then at the end of the chain came your sister. She had a bone to pick before the trip officially started. Her rattling off critiques added some level of normalcy to everything new going on.
Ugh.
I don't get why I can't sleep in the bed tonight. Me as the youngest, I'll never fall asleep in that loft. We're trying to make things fair on everyone. If you want to play the older card, you should be offering to take the loft both nights. It's important for big siblings to make sacrifices for their younger ones. Elizabeth huffed, not happy with that answer in the slightest, and folded her arms, leaning back against the side of the RV. The trip plans had been nailed down prior, the sleeping arrangements included. Elizabeth still held onto her objections with them. There was a main area of the RV with a couch, loft, and some floor space. At the end of the car was a room with a large bed. Your moms were sharing the bed, Kira was on the couch, and father and son intended to sleep on the floor. The adults determined you and Elizabeth would switch between the small loft above the driver's seat and sharing the bed with moms. Oh, jeez. You were excited to sleep in a loft. I've never slept in it. I kind of want to now. It would be a new experience for you and sounded kind of cool. Alright, you lot. Does everyone have everything they need? We're heading out in 5 minutes. Now's the time to double check. You don't want to forget something important. At the word, Elizabeth yelped and dashed back into the house, her bedhead hair bouncing behind her as she went. Mom came over and gave you a smile, settling her hands on her hips. How about you, Mina? You have all your clothes packed, toiletries, deodorant, floss, anything else you can think of? You were confident you had it all, because we're the good child. Just kidding. Wanting to make sure everything was organized and ready to go, you had packed the night before and set your alarm too. Yep, I'm good. That's great. We'll wait for the... okay. We'll have to wait for the ones who weren't as organized, but we'll be heading off shortly. That's great. Whew. I feel like I can't breathe. With a few minutes left to spare before leaving, you mentally went over what you had packed for the trip. Clothes, a pillow and blanket, usual day-to-day gear for most people. You also had more personal things such as... Oh, okay. Okay, so for me, definitely an MP3 player with headphones. I love music. With so much time going to be spent driving in a car, you wanted to make sure you'd be able to have some music to put on. Definitely a camera, too. It was just a little pocket camera you had gotten from your mom's, but you couldn't miss the opportunity to take some new snaps. I don't really read. Sorry. I don't really read that much, and also I get motion sick, so yeah. Oh yeah, definitely bag of makeup. You kind of dreaded the idea of trying to apply it nicely while in a cramped RV, but it was something you wanted to keep on hand. Okay. A portable gaming console, sure. The drive to the Redwood National Park would take an entire day one way, so you wanted to make sure you had a way to entertain yourself while traveling there and back. And then finally, pencils and paper. You had to be prepared in case you saw something to sketch at the park, or if you had or if you had to write anything down, or if you just needed to pass time just doodling. And that was everything. Hey, let me take that for you, Mina. I'll stow it in the RV. There's a few spots left that'll fit it. Thanks, Kira. You let Kira take your bag and gave her a grateful smile. With nothing left to do, you watched the others getting ready for the trip. Kira and Cliff seemed to have the most energy of anyone. They were finishing packing the suitcases away while your moms had gone to lock up the house. They high-fived whenever another one got crammed into the storage compartments of the vehicle. Even though your own parents were more low-key than Cobes, you could tell they were both excited for the trip. It had been a while since your family had been away anywhere together. Elizabeth skipped towards the RV, a bag slung over her shoulder, and you were surprised to see she seemed more optimistic about the whole ordeal now. Usually she wasn't the one to exit the confines of her room unless it was for TV or food or to leave her family behind to be with friends. You would have thought 3 whole days packed in an RV with 6 others would be too much for her, but it was a nice surprise. You supposed any vacation was better than no vacation in her mind. Cove had been pretty quiet so far, and more than anything seemed to be overwhelmed by the situation. You were eager to get to the destination. You'd been looking up the park online and couldn't wait to explore everything it had to offer. Soon, the malicious remaining tasks had all been wrapped up. Everyone piled into the RV. It was officially time for the trip to start. And it did. Cliff took the first shift driving. He cautiously navigated the massive car out of the narrow neighborhood streets. It was touch and go for the first part of the journey. Your moms and Kira were all huddled at the front, trying to get a view of how much space they had on each side. There was a sense of relief when the first long leg of the trip was hit, and the RV would only need to go down one stretch of highway for miles. The mom group cleared out the driver's area, leaving Cope's dad to it, taking more comfortable seats around the main cabin. You felt like you could finally relax now, too. Time slipped by as morning faded away. Before you realized it, the engine of the RV came to a stop, but only halted for a few moments as Cliff climbed down from the driver's seat and Mom took over. Ma was sitting shotgun, giving Mom a quick tutorial on the controls, as it was her first time driving anything this large. Cliff groaned as he headed towards the rest of you, stretching his arms above his head and loosening up his muscles. We're making good progress. Good. That's great, actually. Yeah, maybe you should take a nap in the back for a while. That was a long haul you just did, and I know you're on less sleep than usual. Cliff waved to him, that trademark grin of his slipping into place. I don't need sleep. I still got a few miles in the old tank. He flexed an arm, showing off his muscles to drive the point about how resilient he was home, and Kira rolled her eyes in amusement. Dad, everyone has to sleep. Cope shook his head at the tough guy act, though Cliff simply chuckled and ruffled his son's hair.
So?
Are you going to be driving any... Oh god. Sorry. Are you going to be driving again anytime soon, Mr. Holden? I want to know so I can prepare. Did anyone pack some rope? I might need it. There's no seatbelts up here. Really? Really, Lizzie? Elizabeth called down from where she was lounging in the loft above the driving compartment. She was laying on her back, her hair falling off. Oh my god, I cannot talk. Her hair falling over the side and swinging around as the RV started up again and took off down the road. A bag of potato chips was balanced on Elizabeth's stomach, and she tossed a couple in her mouth right as Cliff held a hand to his chest, pretending to be offended by the remark. Kira laughed lightheartedly.
Don't worry about that.
Lucky for all of us, we have enough adults to cover the shifts today. He won't be driving again until tomorrow. We shouldn't gang up on the poor guy. Come on, guys. This is Mr. Holden we're talking about. Thank you. At least someone here is on my side. Mom then shut up back in her seat to join in the conversation, a playful smile tilting her lips. What I'm more worried about is getting this old monster this old monster getting us there and back again without falling apart. It looks as though it was built in the early 90s. It must be older than some of the occupants. That's just the aesthetic of the decor. It's not that old, I think. Really, Kira? Did you ask what year the model was before you rented it? Kira wrinkled her nose and thought.
Hey.
Yes, I did. I just can't remember the answer was. Cliff chuckled at her while the rest of you let out a collective sigh. The RV lurched a little as it picked up speed, and you held onto the ladder to the loft to keep your balance. You felt something graze the top of your head before a weight settled on your yellow hair. When you tilted your chin up carefully to look, you heard the rustling of the bag of chips and realized Elizabeth had rested the end of it on your head. She gestured to the opening, slightly offering to share her snack. Aw, thank you, Lizzie. Reaching up, you scooped some chips. After that, the weight of the packet left your scalp. You happily munched away as the conversation continued on and you got closer and closer to your destination. The day flew by with a group of you chatting, playing games, and passing the time together before finally arriving at the park and setting up for the night. Mom was closing the windows while everyone got ready for bed, saying goodnight to the others as she made her way to the back room. You had all had dinner together while still driving, and some hours after had arrived at your destination and found a spot to park in for the rest of your stay. Given the look across the front of the RV, you noticed almost everyone there was already dozing off where they were, with Cove having completely fallen asleep curled up in the passenger seat. He must have done so while Kira was driving the last leg, and they had decided not to disturb him. Kira herself was the only one up there who was still awake, flipping through a magazine next to a portable light from her spot on the couch. It seemed Mr. Holden needed to sleep despite his claims. Well, obviously. You followed your moms into the back room and closed the door behind you before crawling into the bed between them. It was a queen-size bed, so there's enough space for the three of you together without too much squashing.
Good night.
Get a good rest, Mina. We've got a big day ahead of us tomorrow.
That's fantastic.
I'm looking forward to the bushwalk in the morning. It's been a long time since I was out on a day trip like this. That sounds so much fun. There will be plenty for us to see. You stayed awake for a little while longer while your moms whispered about the park and forests in general. With the sound of their voices in the background, eventually you nodded off to sleep. The next morning, you were up bright and early, preparing for the day ahead. Honestly, this is just me, but I sleep terribly when I'm not in my actual bed, so I'm just gonna say I slept terribly. There hadn't been enough room for you to spread out or readjust your position. The mattress was uncomfortable and it became hot with two of the people next to you. Mom whined a bit about the firmness of the mattress, but Mom had only encouraged her to enjoy the trip while she could. While looking for a spot to get ready, you had some trouble finding a space of your own as the others were doing the same. Ko was perched on the top of the counter, brushing his hair and tucking up his legs every time someone wanted to move past. The parents were checking, double checking, and triple checking that you had everything to the point where you had stopped listening to them altogether. Whew. You knew you wouldn't be returning to the RV at all that day, but by the look of all the backpacks that were packed up and ready to go, you doubted anything was missing from them. It didn't take much longer until you all exited the RV in a bustle and headed into the Redwood National Park. Oh my god. Aren't redwood trees like the tallest tree on earth?
Wow.
I know, right, Cove? Cove had his head tilted up towards the canopy of trees, his eyes wide as he took in the massive trunks on either side of you. You knew that the redwood trees here were considered the tallest trees on earth. Oh, wow, so they are. I heard something about that, but I wasn't sure. But you weren't prepared for exactly how huge she would be in person.
Come on.
Smile, you two! You spun just in time for Kira to snap a picture of you and Cove together before she pointed her camera at Cliff, trying to get a shot despite his weak protests that she should just enjoy the moment. Your parents were walking behind the group a little, while with Mom telling Ma some information she had read about the park in a brochure. Ma listened happily while looking around and taking in the sights, every now and then asking a question or making a joke about something Mom had said. You smiled at them, thinking your mom must have read a lot of pamphlets to know so much about the park. Maybe you should come and work here as a tour guide if you know so much about the place. Elizabeth teased, earning a squeeze on the nose from your mom. She seemed to be enjoying herself, but you thought that might just be because she was amused by everyone else's reactions. You were in a good mood. The air was fresh and clean, and it was nice to be outdoors with the people you loved most. You were certain that this was only the beginning of what would be a great day. The adults had decided on some casual nature walks rather than any serious hiking, and you strolled along at your own pace, taking in the scenery. Hi, Cove and Elizabeth. Let me take a picture. Elizabeth sped up a little, smirking at Cove as she fell into place between the two of you, and immediately you could tell by her expression that she was going to say something taunting. Oh, great. I can't believe our families are actually on vacation together. She threw her arms out, speaking with a genuine sense of bewilderment. I would have joked about something like this happening, but now I'm not sure I want to give them any more ideas. Cove smiled at her, even if it was a little awkwardly, and continued walking along. Just watch. Next year they'll be talking about their next new amazing idea. She put on a fake voice deeper than her own. We should just sell both of our houses. I can't do that voice. I can't. I probably said so stupid right now. We should just sell both our houses and move in together. Think of how much we save on the mortgage. It was clear that Elizabeth was being sarcastic. Cove simply shook his head, not really bothered by her. You suppose he was used to it by this point. But seriously, they really do act like we're a single family just because we live across the street from each other. Elizabeth gave you and Cove a look, her eyes glistening with mischief as she leered at you. What?
Yeah.
Maybe one day we will be related, legally anyway. What? What? Oh my. She did not just go there, girl. Lizzie! Stop! We're like teenagers. Aren't we like 13, 14? I have no clue. Oh my god, Cove was blushing. She said it as if she was a gossipy old lady. But she almost immediately dropped the tone and nonchalantly said her real thoughts. At least that's what Ma thinks. What? Okay, Cove still blushed, which made Elizabeth smile triumphantly, as though that was her whole purpose for teasing him. Then he mumbled quickly, refusing to make eye contact with either of you. I don't know why you think she's so funny when no one else does. I'll marry you, Cove. You know what? Go for it. Do it, girly. That would be fitting after all, considering what you thought about when you first met him. Wait, did I do that option? Did I really do that option? I didn't remember that. Oh my gosh. This episode has taken a turn, girlies. Oh my god. He looked at you in disbelief. He genuinely could not believe this is where the conversation had gone. Oh my gosh. Dude, I'm actually like kind of embarrassed. Why would you say that? Don't worry over it. You can take as long as you need to think on that. But seriously, why would my character say that? Are you serious? Don't worry, you can take as long as you need to think on that. Really? Okay, everyone, I am back. I'm sorry it took so long. My foot was hurting a lot, so yeah. Okay, so we're gonna be continuing now. Cope frowned and reddened harder, but pretended to ignore what you were saying. Your sister noticed what was happening. Ooh, he isn't going to engage with this topic. He groaned at the continued teasing and increased the speed of his walk. Bye, Cove. The day continued on with plenty to see and experience. You passed a few different activities that you would like to have tried out if you had time, such as kayaking and rock climbing, but Mom said that would have to wait for another trip. There was a little stream during the walk that you sat beside and set out for a picnic for lunch, nibbling on a selection of fruit, sandwiches, and chips. Various birds flew by overhead, and you made a game out of guessing the species that was hanging out in the nearby trees. You even managed to get a couple of them right, including the kingfisher that grabbed half a club sandwich. You were disappointed I only had one day. There was so much here and you felt like you needed a whole week, maybe even more to experience it all. You sighed quietly to yourself, wondering if you'd get the chance to come back. Your group made it back to camp just as the sun was setting in the sky and the stars were appearing one by one. Everyone had enjoyed different parts of it most. You traded stories of what you thought while you were eating dinner, then afterwards you pitched in to help clean up. You, along with Elizabeth and Cove, got to head back to the RV early and spend some time together while the parents stayed outside longer. It was nice to have the space to yourselves after the cramped journey there, and while Elizabeth had locked herself in the back room with her headphones, you and Cove were left in the main lounge area. Well, hang out with Cove. We might as well get comfortable. Who knows how long they'll be out there for. I have cereal right now, so yeah. Sorry. Oh! Hello, Cove. Yeah. Okay. He took a seat on the sofa while Cove sat down on the other end, tapping his fingers against his knees. Your cheeks warmed a little at that. Being close to him never failed to feel exciting. You'd seen Cove nearly every day for the past 5 years, but seeing him in a jacket was still somewhat unusual. In Southern California, he could get away with that. It was a simple difference from his normal style, yet you couldn't help noticing the way he looked right now. It looked great on him. In fact, Cove always looked nice. When Cove cleared his throat, your eyes snapped to his. He had an eyebrow raised and had clearly caught you staring at him. Oh no! Is everything okay? Yeah, don't worry about it. From his expression, you could tell he would have preferred hearing more about what was going on in your head, but you didn't want to say that out loud. But you decided to explain a part of it. You know, I hardly ever see you wearing a jacket, especially in summer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I like wearing as few layers as possible. It's easier that way. I'd rather be cold than extra hot, and it's kind of a pain to carry around extra clothes, too. My parents made me bring this jacket. Oh. I don't mind either way. I just dress depending on the weather and how I'm feeling at the time. Cove smiled lightly at you and nodded. I've noticed? What? You perked up at hearing that. He noticed you too? You asked him like he would to see others wear. Hey, what kind of things do you think are nice to see on another person? Cove's eyes widened at the question. His defensive reply seemed to slip out before he'd have the chance to have a proper think about it. Nothing? You paid it no mind. He still did, however. Aww, Cove, you're so precious. I didn't mean it like that, you know. I know. Answer with what you do mean then. Isn't there anything at all you think looks good when you see it on someone? Cove mumbled under his breath and you couldn't quite catch the words. He was having a difficult time with the subject. You're not very good at these conversations, are you? Yeah, I'm not. Cove seemed pretty grumpy about your statement, but you weren't ready to give up so easily. Come on, Cove. We're your best friend. Okay, so I think you guys can hear stuff. There's stuff going on in my house. I'm still waiting on. I can't. This dog of mine's at my door wanting food. I'm still waiting on an answer. Cove sighed and looked down at his lap where he was fidgeting with his hands, still reluctant to give an answer.
I don't know.
I don't know. You made an unimpressed sound over how this was going. Are you sure? Fine, I guess. I kind of like ankle bracelets. Ankle bracelets? Yeah, everyone can wear a pretty bracelet. Wrist runs are cool too, but they're pretty normal. There's something fun or flirty about ankle bracelets.
I mean...
It's more special something. I don't know how to explain it. Cove brushed his knuckles against his cheek awkwardly, seemingly unsure where to go from here. I'm doing that one. What? No, I can't believe he even used that word to describe it. Cove had been absolutely scandalized by your statement. You could only laugh. When he said nothing else, you took a moment to gather your own thoughts. You had to get an angle on Ape Sap. You needed to see how Cove would react to that. Cove looked away again, feeling awkward about this. You gave him an understanding look, and usually he would start to smile like normal again, but not this time. His expression only stiffened more. Uh-huh. You were surprised to see him like this, as he always bounced back pretty quickly after being flustered. Cove? Still, he wouldn't look at you, and now even his breathing was growing tense. It began to click. He was trying to build himself up enough to say something hard for him. You waited for it silently. Until finally, he picked your way through the corner of his eyes. You were fully attentive by this point for whatever he was going to mention next.
That's,
Oh my god, dude. Time to eat my cereal. Because, girl, that's too much for me. Okay, I'm done eating my cereal. Push that away, girl. Okay, first of all, picture time. Dude. The heck? Huh? For a moment, you were stunned and at a complete loss for words. That was definitely not where you imagined this was going. Cove faced you head on, his expression full of desperate meaning. You got the distinct impression he hadn't just chosen that because he liked the color blue. He chose it entirely because it was your eye color. Was he trying to flirt with you? That was all you could think of. Your legs felt like jelly and you wondered if you might fall right off the couch. What do you look for another person, Mina? Everything about you. Cove went still, his eyes widening in surprise. It was definitely a lot for him to hear, but you couldn't help yourself. It was the truth. You adored him. And now you were both flirting with each other. He placed his hands on his lap and looked down. It seemed like he hadn't expected to get this far and didn't know where to go from there. Without the topic abruptly dropped off, Cove officially had no more to say on it. The parents all arrived soon after, each of them climbing into the RV and finding some place to sit down and rest their legs. Elizabeth, having heard the commotion, came out from the room for the first time since arriving and joined you all. You spent the evening chatting and playing a few games together, enjoying the last evening of the trip together. Bedtime arrived within the blink of an eye. As the group hunkered down for the night, your mom did a final round to be sure nothing had been left behind. She explained that Cliff was going to start driving early in the morning like on the first day, but would be letting everyone else in the group sleep. There wouldn't be a need for all of them to get up. Now was the time to check you hadn't left anything outside. You, as well as everyone else, were confident you had it all packed up inside the RV, which meant it was time to get some rest before the journey home tomorrow. Your moms and Elizabeth said goodnight, heading to the back room while you climbed up to the loft. Cove and his family got situated below in the previously set arrangement. You tried to get comfortable as a million thoughts were running through your mind. It was hard to believe that the trip was practically over, and before you knew it, you'd been back in your own bed at home. You thought the trip had been okay. You couldn't remember doing anything particularly exciting, but it was a nice change of pace from the ordinary. The minutes ticked by silently. It didn't take long for the soft snores of Cliff and Kira to drift up to you. They were asleep now. You wondered if Cove was still awake and decided to poke your head out from the loft to find out. You blinked through the dark. Looking down the hall, you noticed Cove laying on his back, his eyes staring straight up at the ceiling. His seafoam hair was spread out on a sleeping bag. He must have felt you watching him because suddenly his eyes locked on yours. It was difficult to see much in the dim light, but you could make out the crooked smile on his face well enough. He made a silly face. Cove rolled his eyes at you, or at least you thought he did. You gestured for him to come over? Cove looked unsure about it, but you were happy to see him slowly start to sit up anyway. His sleeping bag rustled as he moved, though he tried to go slow and froze like a deer in the headlights every time he made a sound, watching his parents for any sign of movement. Eventually, he managed to maneuver around his sleeping dad and make it to the ladder, standing on the bottom rug where he looked up at you and whispered, "What?" "Oh! Invite him up to the loft! Do you want to come up?" His eyes widened just so. You could only tell because he had come to where you were. Cove glanced behind him quickly at his sleeping parents before turning back to you. "Okay." You broke out into a grin and scooched back as far as you could, making space for Cove to crawl in. He was very tall, so it wasn't great fit for him, but he managed to squeeze himself in. Even if you weren't exactly tall, the loft was still a tight squeeze with the two of you in there together. Oh my god, dude. The CGs! You lay down next to each other on your faces, face to face. Oh my god. On your faces? On your sides, face to face. He got under the blanket a bit. One of his arms was nuzzled under his head for comfort. The other had nowhere to go and was rested along his chest on the floor of the loft. Cove spoke to you softly. "So what am I doing up here?" "I don't know." "Why are you here?" Cove raised an eyebrow, giving you a disbelieving look, and you shrugged as much as the space would allow. "I'm not sure about this." Cove smiled, swallowed loudly, and you noticed he wouldn't look you in the eyes anymore. His reaction made you happy. It was nice to know this didn't seem like nothing to him. You wanted him to take you seriously. You thought back to earlier in the evening when you and Cove had been talking alone on the sofa. He had definitely been flirting. Oh my god. Flirting then, and now you were here. You touched his free arm lightly. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. You laid your fingers on Cove's arm, feeling the warmth of his skin beneath them. Cove's face flushed dark enough to you to notice even in the almost pitch black RV cabin. The hand resting in front of him tightened, balling into a fist. "You okay?"
Yeah.
"I'm fine. I mean, I'm not dying or anything." Cove's eyebrows bent up nervously, but his smile widened. He curled himself deeper into the loft and closer to you. He looked away as he did it. There was almost no space left between he and you. Cove's breast tickled the side of your face. For a moment, you stayed together like that. The other you spoke a word when your eyes locked again. Cove seemed almost taken aback by the situation, as though it hadn't completely hit him what it was going to feel like to do this just until now. I cannot talk because I'm so like, oh my god, I love this. He opened his mouth to say something but shut it tight before anything came out. You snuggled against him. Wait. Dude. No. Oh my god. Oh, should we go for it? No, I've been too bold, okay? No. Just snuggle. You closed the distance completely and nuzzled your face into the crook of his neck under his chin. It was warmer than you thought it'd be. Ko stiffened up and let out a yelp, which he quickly bit down on his lip to stifle. He gave you an apologetic look. This still wasn't bad for him, just surprising. After a few more moments, he settled in, his breath deep and steady. He rested a cheek against the top of your head. Aww. You could feel his lip curved into a smile. It made you happier to know he was enjoying the moment too. Two of you fell asleep before long, cuddled up together. Oh my god! When you woke up the next morning, it was to the rumble of the RV as it traveled the long journey home. You noticed quickly that you weren't as warm as you had been during the night, and when you checked next to you, Ko was gone. Blinking sleepily, you peeked over the edge of the loft to find out where he had gone. Maybe he had snuck back to his spot on the floor during the night? However, you soon noticed him sitting on the couch talking quietly with his mom. His head hung in embarrassment. Oh no, he didn't get away with it. Your moment gave you away, and Kira suddenly looked up and caught your eye. She simply smiled amusedly at you, and it was obvious what happened. Ko hadn't gotten away with it. They found him there in the loft and then woke up while he was trying to explain. Or you woke up. You knew it was going to be a long, long time before you lived this one down, if you ever did. Senior Moms and Elizabeth emerged from the room, dressed and ready for the day of travel. You spent most of the day hanging out together in the RV, savoring the last few hours of vacation. Kira suggested a few different travel games she used to play with Ko when he was younger, and you all had a great time competing against each other. A little later in the day, you tried to talk to Ko about what happened in the loft, but he simply apologized and changed the subject. Are you serious? It was a bit too much for him to try speaking on, especially right now. You understood. No, it's not! When the RV finally pulled onto your street, it was well into the night and you were looking forward to crawling into your own bed after the last few days away. Everyone else must have been feeling the same because it was mutually agreed that unpacking and cleaning the RV would wait until morning. Once home again, you went straight up to your room and dropped onto your bed, shoes and all. It felt good to be alone. After 3 days squashed together in the RV like a can of sardines, having your own private space again felt great. With those last few thoughts drifting through your mind, it wasn't long before you dozed off to sleep. Tomorrow, life would go on like normal. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my gosh! Dude, what a moment! Okay, so firstly, Ko flirted with us and we snuggled up to him in bed. Or in the loft or whatever it is. Girly, I'm mind blown by this moment. Okay, so we are now finished with the top row of the moments of step 2. So we're getting through step 2 pretty quickly. I'm actually pretty happy about that. So the next episode will be the mom moment. And yeah, but that was it for today, everyone. But lastly, you're Gem, and thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye!